Welcome to today's story. Close your eyes and picture the wide sky above. The clouds drift slowly, like sails at sea. In that vast expanse, lightning flickers. The sound of thunder rolls gently, not in anger, but in power. This is the realm of Zeus, king of the gods, guardian of order, and keeper of the endless sky. Yet, even a god who rules thunder needs a companion. Not a warrior, not a servant, but a symbol. From the horizon came a bird, wings of gold shining brighter than the sun's first morning light. It was the golden eagle, strong, fearless, and destined to soar at Zeus's side forever. This is not a tale of battle. It is a tale of trust, of friendship, and of the bond between sky and earth. As you listen, imagine the eagle's wings cutting through the clouds, carrying messages of hope. Imagine Zeus watching, silent yet proud, knowing the skies themselves honored their union. Tonight we travel into myth, into legend, into a story told for centuries. Zeus and the golden eagle. The mountain of Olympus rises high, wrapped in clouds, shining like a throne above the world below. At its peak sits a figure of power, calm yet mighty, with eyes that hold both storm and sunlight. This is Zeus, the father of gods and men, ruler of the heavens, keeper of thunder and divine justice. When mortals speak of him, their voices tremble, for he is the guardian of balance, order, and sacred law. His throne is not built of stone alone, but of the trust placed in him by gods and mortals alike. The winds bow before him, and the clouds gather at his call, carrying the sound of his will. When lightning cracks across the sky, it is said to be his signal, his voice carried through fire and air. But Zeus is more than thunder. He is the vastness of the sky itself, eternal, unshaken, infinite. His presence spreads over mountains, rivers, and cities, unseen yet felt, silent yet commanding. At night, when stars burn like diamonds, mortals imagine his gaze watching over them from above. By day, when sunlight covers fields and seas, they sense his hand guiding nature's course with care. Zeus does not always appear in majesty. Sometimes he walks among mortals, hidden in gentle form. He listens to their prayers, their fears, their joys, and weighs them upon the scales of justice. Though his power is immense, he is not distant. He is present in the rhythm of wind and rain. Every storm reminds mortals of his might. Yet every clear dawn speaks of his grace and mercy. Among the gods of Olympus, Zeus holds the crown, not through fear alone, but through wisdom. Hera, his queen, sits beside him, watching the affairs of gods and men with eyes sharp and steady. Athena, goddess of wisdom, often brings counsel, while Apollo shares light and song in his court. Yet, when judgments must be made, it is Zeus whose word becomes law, final and unquestioned. He carries the thunderbolt, a gift of power, forged in fire, unerring, and never thrown in vain. Legends say the earth itself listens when Zeus lifts his hand, for his command shapes destiny. Mortals offer him temples of marble, sacrifices of grain, and prayers whispered with trembling hope. They do not worship only his strength, but his fairness, his role as protector of oath and truth. Zeus guards the bonds of family, the sanctity of promise, and the balance between earth and sky. Without him, the heavens would scatter, and the order of the world would dissolve into chaos. He is not merely a god of storms. He is the keeper of harmony, the great father of Olympus. But behind the thunder and lightning lies another truth, quiet yet powerful, waiting to be told. For even Zeus, master of the skies, knew the value of loyalty, of companionship, of trust. And from this need would rise a story, not of war, but of friendship written across the heavens. In the silence of dawn, when the mists curled around Olympus, Zeus looked upward, thoughtful. He wondered if even the king of gods might need a presence to share the endless sky. Not a servant, not a warrior, but a companion who could match the vastness of his realm. And so the heavens stirred, preparing for a bond that would shape the myths of ages to come. A bond between the Sky Father and a creature of golden wings, destined to soar beside him. The tale begins here, with Zeus upon his throne, awaiting the arrival of the golden eagle. On a bright morning, the summit of Olympus glowed as sunlight touched the marble halls of the gods. Zeus stood tall upon his throne, gazing into the horizon where clouds parted like a curtain of silk. The sky stretched endlessly, yet even the Lord of Thunder felt the silence of that vast expanse. Though his dominion was boundless, a quiet thought lingered. Power meant little without presence beside it. The fates, who weave the thread of all lives, had whispered of a sign, a gift yet to be seen. They spoke of a creature born of sky and light, destined to soar with the Father of gods. Zeus lifted his eyes, and in the distance, something shimmered wings of flame with golden brilliance. At first, it was a speck, like a star fallen from heaven, growing brighter as it drew near. The winds carried a cry, sharp and noble, echoing across the valleys and seas far below. The gods turned their heads, their voices hushed, for they too sensed destiny unfolding before their eyes. Through the blue dome of the sky came the eagle, its wings wide as rivers, its flight steady and sure. Golden feathers caught the light, scattering rays across Olympus like sparks from a divine fire. Its eyes glowed with wisdom, fierce yet calm, as if it had always known its place in the heavens. The eagle did not falter nor fear as it landed upon the high throne's marble edge. Zeus looked into its gaze, and in that silent exchange, an unspoken bond was forged. No words were needed. The sky itself bore witness to their meeting, timeless and unshakable. The eagle bowed its head, not in submission, but in recognition of shared strength and purpose. For Zeus saw not a servant, but a companion, a spirit equal in loyalty and courage. This was no ordinary bird. It was a gift of fate, the embodiment of power and watchfulness. Its golden form reflected the sun, its shadow stretching far across mountains and distant cities. Mortals below looked upward, shielding their eyes, and whispered of a sign from the King of Heaven. They knew this was not chance. It was a blessing, a symbol of protection carried on golden wings. Zeus raised his hand, and thunder rolled gently, not in rage, but in welcome to his new ally. The gods applauded, their hearts stirred, for they understood this moment would echo through eternity. Hera smiled faintly, Athena nodded with pride, and Apollo's lyre sang a note of harmony. The eagle spread its wings, circling above Zeus, tracing patterns like constellations written in motion. Each beat of its wings told a story, a vow of loyalty to the ruler of gods and skies. The bond was sealed, not with flame or stone, but with trust born of destiny and design. From that day forward, the eagle would be more than a bird. It would be the spirit of Olympus. When Zeus traveled, the eagle followed. When he judged, it watched with keen and noble eyes. Together, they became a vision of power and balance, of might tempered by loyalty and grace. And so the tale of Zeus and the golden eagle began, not with thunder, but with destiny's call. It was the gift of the fates, the answer to a quiet longing in the heart of the Sky Father. And in the stillness of Olympus, where gods and winds listened, a new chapter of legend unfolded. The eagle stretched its golden wings wide, rising from Olympus with a cry that split the morning air. Its flight was smooth, each motion steady, as though the sky itself had been waiting for this dance. Below, the mountains gleamed, valleys opened, and rivers mirrored the light of feathers like fire. The gods watched in silence, marveling at the sight of such beauty and power woven into one. Zeus remained seated upon his throne, his eyes fixed upon the bird that now carried his symbol. The eagle rose higher, slicing through clouds, leaving trails of brilliance across the endless heavens. Mortals below looked upward, pausing in their fields, whispering prayers as they saw the golden form. Children pointed to the sky, believing they had seen a star descend and take the shape of wings. Fishermen at sea shaded their eyes, calling the sight an omen of safe journeys and calm waters. Shepherds on hillsides bowed, knowing the eagle flew with the blessing of the ruler of the skies. The eagle's cry echoed across mountains, not fearful but bold, a call that stirred every heart. It was a song of freedom, of loyalty, of strength that needed no words to be understood. The sun caught its feathers again, scattering gold like sparks that danced across the blue horizon. Birds of the earth fell silent in awe, for none could match the majesty of this heavenly creature. The eagle glided low over forests, and the trees bent as though bowing to its passage above. It circled rivers, its reflection shining upon the waters, doubling its glory for all to see. Every wing beat seemed to weave a story across the canvas of the sky, bold and unshakable. Zeus smiled faintly. His heart stirred, for he knew the eagle carried his will across the world. No thunder was needed, no lightning struck. The eagle alone was a message of divine presence. The gods spoke softly to one another, agreeing this sight would not be forgotten for ages. Athena declared it a symbol of wisdom. Apollo called it light, and Hera named it loyalty. In their voices was respect, for they knew the eagle was more than a companion, it was destiny. The mortals spread tales quickly, each adding wonder to the story of the golden-winged guardian. Some said it was born of the sun, others that it was a star given feathers by the fates. All agreed it was sacred, a sign that Zeus himself watched the world through eagle's eyes. The eagle flew higher still, until the mountains seemed small and the sea a silver thread. Its cry pierced the winds, carrying a vow of devotion that only the Sky Father could hear. Zeus raised his hand in silent blessing, thunder rumbling faintly like applause from the heavens. The eagle responded with a circle around Olympus, wings stretched wide as if to embrace it. It was a moment of harmony. Sky and God, power and trust, joined in perfect balance. No war, no battle, no fear marked this day, only the birth of a bond, unbroken by time. The eagle's first flight was not a test, but a proclamation. The skies now had a guardian. From then on, mortals would always remember the day the golden eagle soared for Zeus. They would carve its image into stone, weave it into songs, and paint it upon temple walls. For in that flight was a promise that the heavens would never abandon the earth below. And so the eagle returned to Olympus, landing gracefully beside Zeus, its duty already begun. The sky was brighter, the world steadier, for the bond between God and eagle had taken wing. The golden eagle soon became more than a companion. It became the trusted herald of Zeus's divine will. Its wings carried messages swifter than the winds, crossing mountains, seas, and the wide expanse of the earth. Mortals came to recognize its cry, sharp and clear, as the sign of a decree from the Sky Father. When the eagle appeared above temples, priests would bow, knowing a command from Olympus had arrived. Zeus trusted no one more with the words that shaped kingdoms and guided the lives of men. The eagle flew with purpose, never faltering, never delaying, as though time itself bent to its flight. It crossed rivers that twisted like silver ribbons and deserts where the sands burned beneath the sunday. The bird knew no barrier. Storms parted for it, and mountains lowered as though honoring its mission. When kings defied oaths or broke sacred promises, the eagle was sent as a warning in the skies. Its shadow stretched across palaces, a silent reminder that no word given to Zeus could be betrayed. The mortals trembled, yet they also rejoiced. For the eagle was not only fear, but also blessing. When a city honored justice and truth, the eagle soared above it, a golden shield of protection. Children chased its shadow, believing it brought fortune, while elders whispered of divine approval. Each journey it made strengthened the bond between God and bird, built on faith and loyalty. Zeus would watch the eagle depart, his gaze following until it became a speck among clouds. He knew it would return, faithful as the sunrise, carrying answers from mortals or messages fulfilled. Among the gods, too, the eagle carried words, linking Olympus with faraway realms across the heavens. When Hera sent her counsel, or Hermes needed guidance, it was the eagle who bore the news. Even Apollo's songs were carried in its flight, spreading light and harmony to distant lands. In this way, the eagle became not only a messenger but a bridge between gods and mankind. Its flight was more than travel. It was ritual, a sacred act connecting sky, earth, and divine order. Poets compared its wings to scrolls of gold, each beat inscribing law across the fabric of time. No parchment was needed, no ink or seal. The eagle's cry was itself the voice of Olympus. Mortals learned to trust its presence, for it never lied, never erred, never strayed from truth. If the eagle soared, it meant Zeus had spoken, and his will could not be ignored or broken. One tale tells of a distant island, forgotten by many, where prayers rose unanswered for years. Zeus sent the eagle, and in its shadow, the people felt the warmth of divine remembrance again. Their crops flourished, rains returned, and their hearts lifted, knowing they had not been forsaken. The eagle carried back their gratitude, a whisper of hope delivered into the hands of Zeus. In silence, the bird became the voice of those who could not climb Olympus to be heard. It was a messenger, yes, but more than that, it was the keeper of vows and prayers. Each mission completed proved that loyalty is not in words, but in action, steady and unwavering. Zeus, watching from his throne, found comfort in knowing his will traveled safely on golden wings. For in the eagle, he saw the reflection of his own strength, sharpened by trust and devotion. And so the world came to know that whenever the eagle crossed the sky, Olympus was near. The bird was not only a herald, it was the living seal of Zeus's power and divine justice. From then on, mortals and gods alike looked upward, awaiting its flight with awe and reverence. One day, Zeus gazed across the horizon and felt the weight of a choice resting upon his shoulders. He wondered if the eagle's loyalty would hold firm when tested beyond the borders of Olympus itself. The gods spoke of distant lands where storms never ceased, where seas raged and mountains swallowed the sky. Zeus decided that his companion must face a trial, not of strength alone, but of devotion and will. He summoned the eagle, its golden feathers glowing, as it perched upon the marble ledge of Olympus. With calm authority, Zeus spoke of a mission: to fly beyond seas, mountains, and storms without retreat. The eagle spread its wings, not in fear, but in readiness, its eyes steady as flames in the wind. The trial began with a journey across endless waters, where waves roared like lions beneath the sky. The wind grew fierce, salt stung the air, and clouds thickened, but still the eagle pressed forward. It soared above the fury of the sea, wings cutting through rain as lightning flickered far below. Every beat of its wings was a promise, carrying the will of Zeus across the chaos of nature. No storm could shake its resolve. No wave could drown the fire burning in its golden heart. Beyond the sea lay mountains, sharp and jagged, their peaks tearing at the very belly of clouds. The air grew thin, cold, bit like knives, yet the eagle climbed higher, stronger, undaunted by the climb. Its wings brushed against snow and ice, leaving trails of golden sparks across the frozen heights. At the summit, winds howled like spirits, yet the eagle's cry rang louder, defiant, and unyielding. Zeus watched from Olympus, his heart steady, knowing this journey revealed the truth of loyalty. The eagle pressed onward, across valleys deep and forests so vast they seemed endless as time. It did not stop to rest, nor did it falter, for its mission was clear: return to its master. The sun sank low, painting skies in crimson, yet still the eagle flew, its shadow long on the earth. Mortals below looked up in awe, marveling at the endurance of this creature of divine grace. They whispered that it carried the fire of the gods, unquenchable, eternal, and bound to no limit. Through the night it flew, guided by starlight, its eyes sharp as it followed destiny's thread. Owls and wolves fell silent, for even the creatures of night honored the journey of golden wings. At dawn, the eagle neared Olympus once more, weary yet unbroken, its spirit brighter than before. It descended slowly, landing with grace, feathers shimmering with the light of both sun and storm. Zeus rose from his throne, thunder rumbling faintly as he welcomed the eagle with pride and honor. He saw not fatigue, but triumph, a devotion that had crossed sea, mountain, and shadow, unshaken. The gods gathered, marveling at the bird that had proven loyalty beyond measure, beyond expectation. Hera acknowledged its courage, Athena praised its wisdom, and Apollo sang of its unyielding flight. Zeus extended his hand, and the eagle bowed, a bond now sealed, with trial and victory combined. No longer was it merely a companion, it had become the eternal symbol of trust and resilience. From that day, mortals looked to the eagle as proof that faith endures, even in the harshest storms. They carved its wings on stone, painted its flight in colors of fire and gold upon temple walls. The test had not weakened the eagle. It had forged it stronger, a mirror of Zeus's own will. And so the Sky Father and his golden companion stood united, their bond brighter than lightning itself. The trial had ended, but the bond between Zeus and the eagle only grew stronger in the days that followed. The gods of Olympus began to see the bird not just as a servant, but as an equal in divine purpose. Its wings had crossed seas and storms. Its spirit had defied cold and darkness, and its faith had never wavered. Zeus, proud yet humbled, looked upon his golden companion as a mirror of loyalty the world could not deny. From then on, whenever Zeus raised his hand, the eagle knew its call, rising like a flame into the skies. It carried not only words, but also signs, omens written in its flight, guiding mortals through trials of their own. When a kingdom faced famine, its sudden appearance was a promise that hope and harvest would soon return. When a ruler strayed from justice, its shadow across the palace warned that Olympus watched with sharp eyes. The eagle was no longer silent presence. It became a living reminder of law, truth, and divine harmony. Mortals began to weave its image into their lives, chiseling golden wings into stone gates and temple doors. Sailors painted its form on ships, believing its blessing would shield them from storms on the endless sea. Farmers left offerings at dawn, praying for the eagle's flight to bring rain to thirsty fields and orchards. Children sang songs of its courage, their voices rising like flocks of sparrows to honor the bird of Zeus. In distant lands, where Olympus was but a whisper, tales spread of the golden guardian in the skies. It was said that to see it at sunrise was to receive fortune, and at sunset, divine protection from harm. Zeus smiled at these stories, for he knew they were more than myth. They were threads binding mortals to gods. Yet even in Olympus, not all looked kindly upon this bond between bird and king of the sky. Some gods wondered if Zeus trusted too much, giving the eagle a role greater than any herald before. Whispers grew like winds in the halls, murmurs of envy, of doubt, and of silent disapproval. But Zeus remained unmoved, for he knew trust is not broken by rumor, nor loyalty undone by envy. The eagle, unshaken, continued its flight, unaware of doubt, guided only by devotion to its master. Each journey was a vow, each cry in the sky, a promise that no force could sever this sacred bond. Even Hera, once skeptical, softened, seeing in the bird a reflection of strength tempered with grace. Athena spoke of wisdom carried in its wings, calling it a keeper of balance between heaven and earth. Apollo sang verses of light that echoed the eagle's flight, comparing its wings to notes of a golden lyre. Thus, slowly, Olympus too embraced it fully, seeing that the bond enriched rather than diminished their realm. For in the eagle's flight, they saw not only Zeus's will, but the unshakable link between gods and mortals. The bird had become a bridge, a flame, a symbol too great to be bound by envy or shadow. And so, day by day, its presence carved itself deeper into the story of mankind and the divine. Wherever its wings spread, faith followed, carried like seeds upon the wind to bloom in distant hearts. Its golden feathers no longer shone for Zeus alone, but for all who looked upward in search of hope. And Zeus, watching from his throne of clouds, knew the world was changing with every beat of its wings. For the eagle was no longer merely his. It belonged to the earth, the skies, and the eternal story itself. In time, the golden eagle's fame spread so widely that even the stars seemed to honor its flight. Mortals would look skyward at night and claim constellations shifted to form its wings in the heavens. Poets sang of it as a flame carried across eternity, a spark of divine will written upon the sky. The eagle itself remained humble, knowing its path was not glory but service, not praise but loyalty. Zeus often watched it in silence, admiring how it carried power without arrogance, Strength without pride. It had become what many gods were not. A force respected by both immortals and mortals alike. One day, Zeus called the eagle to his throne. His voice steady as thunder rolling across distant hills. He spoke of balance, of the delicate thread that bound heaven, earth, and the lives of men. "Your wings," he said, "carry not just my will, but the harmony that keeps chaos far from this world." The eagle lowered its head, understanding that its duty was now larger than messages or warnings alone. It was a guardian of balance, a living bridge that ensured order flowed through the veins of creation. From then on, its flights grew longer, reaching lands untouched by Olympus, lands unknown even to gods. It soared above deserts where sands whispered secrets, and across jungles where silence was older than time. Everywhere it went, its golden feathers seemed to stir life, leaving behind whispers of strength and unity. In one village, the people spoke of a drought broken by its shadow passing over their fields at dawn. In another, a child prayed for courage, and the eagle's cry gave him strength to face his fears. The bird carried no gifts of gold, no weapons of power, only the unseen blessing of faith renewed. Mortals began to build shrines, not to worship, but to honor the symbol of endurance and harmony. These shrines were simple, stones stacked high, feathers carved into wood, songs offered at sunrise. Zeus listened as prayers carried by the eagle returned, voices filled with gratitude, hope, and reverence. Each message touched the heart of the Sky Father, reminding him that kingship was not command but care. For in the devotion of his bird, Zeus saw the reflection of what it meant to rule with justice. The gods, too, began to change, their envy fading as they saw the good born from golden wings. Ares respected its courage, Artemis admired its grace, and Poseidon marveled at how it crossed his seas. Even Hades, keeper of shadows, acknowledged the light it spread, though his words were quiet as dusk. The eagle's role had surpassed all expectation. It was no longer merely part of Zeus's legend. It had become part of the world's heartbeat, present in stories, in prayers, and in the rhythm of life. One evening, as the sun sank and the eagle rested on Olympus, Zeus spoke softly to his companion. "Your flight is not mine alone," he said. "It belongs to all who look upward with faith in their hearts." The eagle answered not with words, but with a steady gaze, clear and unwavering as starlight. For some truths need no speech. They are known in silence, carried in trust, and proven through action. And so the eagle rose again, wings slicing through twilight, carrying unseen blessings across the sleeping world. Its golden light shone upon rivers, mountains, and fields, weaving invisible threads of unity and peace. Wherever it went, mortals lifted their eyes, comforted by the certainty that Olympus had not forgotten them. Thus, the eagle became more than a messenger, more than a guardian. It became the heartbeat of faith itself. And Zeus, watching from the high throne of clouds, knew the world was safer beneath those golden wings. As seasons turned, the golden eagle's presence became as natural to mortals as sunrise and the song of rivers. It flew across kingdoms, unseen yet felt, a silent keeper of harmony, weaving hope wherever shadows threatened. But even as its fame spread, challenges stirred in corners of the world, untouched by Olympus's watchful eye. There were lands where mortals doubted the gods, where faith had withered like leaves beneath endless drought. In those places, the eagle's shadow was met not with reverence, but with suspicion and fear of the unknown. Zeus, watching, did not command belief. He let his companion's flight plant seeds where hearts were still barren. For he knew that trust cannot be forced. It must be nurtured, like fire coaxed from fragile sparks. The eagle, tireless, carried on, its wings steady as mountains, its cry echoing through valleys of doubt. In time, whispers began to shift, fear softened into awe, awe into wonder, and wonder into hope. Children in distant villages began drawing its form in the sand, calling it the light bird of the skies. Farmers prayed silently, leaving bowls of water in its honor, hoping rains would follow its golden shadow. Travelers spread stories of its courage, carrying faith across deserts, seas, and forests, far beyond Olympus. The eagle had become not only a messenger, but a living story, carried from mouth to mouth, heart to heart. Zeus listened to these stories with quiet pride, knowing his bird had grown larger than command or decree. It was no longer bound to Olympus alone. It belonged to the world, to every mortal who believed. Yet with this growth came a new challenge, for not all welcomed the unity it inspired among men. There were kings who feared its shadow, believing it would weaken their power, threaten their crowns of stone. Some sought to claim its image for themselves, raising false banners marked with wings of imitation gold. But no false image could match the true eagle, whose cry carried thunder and whose wings bore light. Mortals soon learned to tell the difference, for truth shines steady, while imitation flickers and fades with time. The eagle did not fight these falsehoods. It simply flew higher, its presence too great to be diminished. Zeus watched with wisdom, knowing silence can sometimes speak louder than thunder or the clash of storms. And so the eagle endured, not by contest but by constancy, proving that truth needs no weapon to survive. Its light grew brighter with every lie it outlasted, every shadow it outflew, every doubt it outsoared. The gods marveled at this quiet triumph, seeing that endurance itself can be the greatest form of power. Athena spoke often of its wisdom, calling it a lesson to both mortals and immortals alike. Hermes admired its speed, though even he admitted its strength was not swiftness, but steadfast devotion. And Zeus, more than any, saw in it the heart of leadership, patient, loyal, unyielding, yet gentle. The eagle, though silent, became the teacher of gods and men, reminding all that strength is born of faith. It carried no crown, no throne, yet it ruled hearts more deeply than any king or queen could dream. And as it soared, higher and higher, mortals lifted their eyes, their burdens lighter, their spirits renewed. For they knew that in the golden eagle's flight lay the promise that Olympus still watched over them. Thus, the bird continued its endless journey, across mountains, seas, and skies, a flame that never dimmed. A symbol not just of Zeus's power, but of hope itself, untouched by envy, unbroken by doubt, eternal. The golden eagle's flight entered a new season, and with it came questions whispered on both Earth and Olympus. What was its true destiny? Was it meant only to carry messages, or to carve a greater path in mortal hearts? Zeus, though master of storms, never chained his companion, for freedom was its gift and its guiding strength. Still, he watched closely, sensing that the eagle's story was reaching toward a turning point, both fragile and vast. In distant lands, philosophers debated its meaning, calling it a living riddle, a bridge between sky and soil. Poets sang of its wings as golden rivers flowing through the heavens, touching every village and valley below. Sailors prayed to it before voyages, believing its shadow meant safe passage through tempests and unseen reefs. Even rulers, once doubtful, began carving its likeness into stone, hoping its presence would lend them true authority. But the eagle was no crown for the unworthy. It offered light, only where sincerity blossomed in human hearts. Thus, while many revered it, few truly understood it, for reverence without humility is but shadow without flame. The bird flew on, steady, neither prideful nor swayed, a silent reminder that power rests best in balance. One day, it soared across a barren plain, where no crops grew and rivers had long since dried. There, a child lifted weary eyes and stretched thin arms, whispering a wish too soft for most to hear. The eagle paused mid-flight, its shadow falling like a cloak of comfort upon the child's trembling shoulders. With a single cry, it summoned clouds where none had gathered, weaving threads of silver across the empty sky. Rain fell gently, not as a storm, but as a blessing, feeding the soil, reviving roots thought long forgotten. The villagers wept, not in fear but in joy, seeing hope return where despair had dwelled for generations. Stories spread quickly, carried faster than wind, saying the eagle was not just a guardian but a giver of life. Zeus, hearing this, did not claim the act as his own. He smiled, letting the eagle's kindness shine alone. For he knew the bird was more than servant or symbol. It was a living truth, shaped by choice and heart. The gods gathered, curious, asking Zeus if he had commanded the rain. But he shook his head with pride. "The bird is free," he said, "and in its freedom it has found its truest strength, compassion." Athena nodded, calling it wisdom. Hermes grinned, naming it clever. Even Hera, often stern, softened at the tale. For in Olympus, rare was the being praised by all. Rarer still, one born of silence, not of thunder. Mortals began to call it the Golden Soul, a name not given by gods, but by those who needed hope. They painted it on clay pots, etched it into doorways, carved it into wood to guard their families at night, not as idol, but as memory, a reminder that kindness could fall from the sky as softly as rain. The eagle, unburdened by titles, flew on, knowing that every wing beat carried not power, but promise. And in its heart, if birds could hold hearts, there grew a song unheard, unseen, yet strong as eternity. Zeus, watching, felt a rare stillness. For even a god can be humbled by the greatness of what he loves. The eagle's journey was no longer a tale of Olympus alone. It had become a story shared by all the world. And in that truth lay its destiny, unfolding not by command, but by the gentle rhythm of its endless flight. The story of the golden eagle reached its final chapter, though its wings still carried the promise of eternity. It had flown across seas, deserts, forests, and mountains, touching every corner of the mortal world with quiet grace. No war trumpet had marked its path. No throne had chained it. Yet its presence had shaped ages and hearts. Zeus, seated upon Olympus, often wondered if the eagle had grown into something even gods could not command. For though he was king of thunder, he had not created its compassion, nor its choice to serve without chains. And that, perhaps, was the greatest wonder, that true greatness is not forged by lightning, but born of freedom. The eagle, ever silent, continued its watch, neither demanding praise nor shrinking from the weight of destiny. It had become more than symbol, more than myth. It was a bond uniting earth and sky in a living song. In villages, people lit small lamps each night, whispering prayers of gratitude for its unseen but felt presence. Children grew up believing kindness could take wing, soaring higher than storms, brighter than the flames of fear. Even in cities of stone, where gods were doubted, the eagle's story softened hearts and planted quiet belief, not in Zeus alone, but in the power of hope, the endurance of truth, the strength of compassion itself. One twilight, the eagle perched upon the highest peak, its feathers glowing with the last fire of the Sunday. Zeus approached, not as a ruler, but as a companion, standing silently beneath the calm of gathering stars. He spoke not with thunder, but with a voice softened by centuries. "You have given the world what I could not." The eagle lowered its golden head, as if to answer, though no words were needed in that shared silence. For both knew the truth. The bird had become not just Zeus's messenger, but the world's eternal guardian of light. From Olympus to the farthest shores, its legend would not fade, for legends born of love never wither. The gods themselves marveled, learning that even immortality is enriched by humility, by loyalty, by gentle strength. Athena said wisdom wears wings. Hermes said truth runs faster than wind. Hera said faith is strongest when free. And mortals, unaware of divine debates, continued to look skyward, feeling lighter with every shadow it cast. The eagle flew once more, wings wide, carrying the weight of countless hopes, yet never burdened by them. Its cry echoed across valleys, through temples, beyond oceans, a call not of fear, but of everlasting assurance. Zeus watched, and for the first time, laid aside his crown, bowing not in surrender, but in reverence. For the king of gods had found in his companion a mirror of greatness beyond the reach of storm. The eagle soared higher, into a sky unending, until it seemed one with the stars themselves, eternal and free. And though its form faded into night, its presence remained, a golden thread woven through dreams and memories. So ends the tale, but not the journey. For the eagle still flies whenever hope takes root in weary hearts. It lives in every act of kindness, every choice of truth, every hand raised to lift another from despair. Zeus and the golden eagle no longer just a myth, but a lesson carried forever by wind, sky, and soul. And if you listen, even now, perhaps you'll hear its wings above, steady, faithful, a promise that never dies.